This is the face mask that we're going to be making this afternoon. I've used this pattern here from Tiana's closet. As you can see, it's a bit dog-eared and a bit well worn because I've made over 20 so far for family and close friends. The pattern comes in child size, female, adult, and there is a male adult size. So far I've only made the female adult size because they seem to be about right for male and female, and I haven't made any children's ones yet.
Yeah.
This is the pattern. I've cut out two different fabrics, one going to be the outer and one is going to be the inner, the lining, and I've chosen to use bright and bold fabrics. You'll notice a variety of fabrics here, mainly because I've done the different stages in different fabrics, and then I'm going to create the end result later. So this is some sausage dog fabric. What you need to do is have right side spacing and you pin down the curved edge. Now this is going to be sewn at 1/4 inch, so however your machine sets up, if you can set it up at 1/4 inch, if you just pop it down, pop the foot down, and I tend to hold on to the threads just so that it doesn't beehive up. I'll move the pin out the way and I'm going to follow the curve. But before I do that, I'm just going to back stitch to secure it. Okay, again I'll hold the tails. When you're actually sewing this, you've got to bear in mind it's a curve. Continue right round. You can see I'm putting a little bit of tension on there. Right round to this corner. I'm going to take the pin out so that we don't have a broken needle. And once I get to this end, I'm going to back stitch again, just to secure it. Thank you. You do the identical thing with the lining. So again, back stitch at the start and back stitch at the finish. Once you've sewn both of those curved areas of the mask, what you need to do then is you push, finger press, open this seam. It's just important to get a little bit, a little bit of press on there. You do it both sides, i.e. the outside and the lining. Again, it's not the easiest thing to do, but if you finger press it, it just makes the next stage a little bit easier. In the instructions, it tells you to snip to the stitching around the curves, but actually you won't be able to fold it over like this and secure it nicely with a top stitch if you do that. The next thing you need to do is set the needle in the middle. I just use the foot to help me with the distance, but it's only about 3 or 4 millimeters away from the seam. You're going to secure this material down. It just gives it a bit more it just makes it a bit more robust. So all I'm going to do, you might need to come in a bit closer, Paul, is I'm going to sew, and this part of my foot is just following the seam there. And whilst I'm doing that, I'm noticing that my stitch length is a bit too narrow, so I'm going to widen my stitch, put it up to 3. You might want to make it 3.5. And all you're going to do is, you can see, you're just going to go around the curve. This is the fiddliest bit, but actually it does become second nature when you've made a few. But if you trim into the seam like the instructions say, you just won't be able to do this section, and it won't be quite as robust. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going. You can see here that I've got the seams flattened out, and all I'm doing is putting a top stitch to secure both sides in place. And when you wash your mask, that'll just make it a little bit more secure. Now this is the lining. You do exactly the same thing. All you're wanting to do is secure your creased, your fabric down, so that when you wash it, it doesn't come away, and it just makes it a better finish. Okay, so you have both pieces here. On the pattern, it sticks out at the top, and that's the top of the nose, and the bottom bit is quite flat. So what you need to do is right sides together, making sure that you've got the right sections. This is the top, the flat is the bottom, and you're going to just put a few pins in before you do the next bit of sewing. So I'm just going to put a pin in the middle, and I'm going to pop a pin at the end and another pin at the other end, and then we'll do the same thing on the opposite side, but we'll just do one section at a time. So I've pinned the top and I've pinned the bottom, and all I'm going to do now is sew a 1/4 inch seam from one end to the other end, stop, reverse on each end to secure the thread, and then do the identical thing at the bottom. And then I'll just show you the setting off, and then I'll show you the next stage. Just need to get the 1/4 inch seam, which on mine is about 6.5, but I'm just doing it at 6. I'm going to go backwards. My stitch length is 3 rather than 2.5, just because this is poly cotton I've got in front of me, and it just sews a bit better with a longer stitch length. Got a slight twist there, and you follow it very slowly with the edge of the foot, the edge of your material. I'm just moving the pins as I go. Don't want any broken needles. And again, I'm just pushing the material slightly, pulling the material round. When I get to this end, I'm going to reverse just to secure the thread. So let me move, well, 2 needles I've got, pins I've got there. Okay, this is your mask with both sides attached down the long edges at the top and the bottom. What's going to happen now is you're going to turn it inside out, right way out I should say, not inside out. Okay, and you'll need an iron at this point, but I've prepared one to save time. So all you need to do is finger press it and then go to your iron. So you're looking at it being nice and flat, making sure that you've got it pushed out all the way along, just like this one that I prepared earlier. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to top stitch to hold it securely, and that's going to be about just a bit wider than a 1/4 inch. I tend to make it a little bit wider just because it's quite neat. So I'm just going to alter that to, I'm going to say 5 on my position, my needle position. So again, you don't need to secure it this time, just hold on to the end so that it starts off nicely. Okay, I've got the 3 for my stitch length again. I've used a thread that isn't too noticeable, so I'm not changing the thread every time I make one of these masks. I just want to keep it nice and simple and produce quite a lot at the same time for friends and family. So you go down one side, okay, here is your mask so far. It really is starting to look like the finished product. So it goes over your nose here. The next stage is to add the elastic down the side. Let me show you on one that's been completed. So you're doing a little channel and then you're threading the elastic through. It is actually reversible. I know you've got a slight difference in colour there, but it doesn't really matter. It just gives a bit of variation. So all you need to do, you need a safety pin and you need about 9 inches of elastic. You can alter this if it's too slack later, but about 9 inches is the starting point. You fold it over slightly, probably about 1/2 centimetre at one end, then you fold it again, and what you're going to do, you can pin it, but I find the pins get in the way at this stage. So I'm going to slide it under my machine. I'm then going to alter the position of the needle so it's as close to the left as I can get it. So just let me alter that. And what you're wanting to do is to catch this side. I don't do any back stitching, I just start from the top, go down to the bottom, turn it round, go back again, and then do a back stop at the end. And it just keeps it nice and firm. Again, I'll hold on to the tails of the thread, and I will make the stitch length longer because it's going through a lot of layers, so I'm going to have it as 3.5, but it just depends on your machine as to what works the best for you. So all I'm going to do is go down to this end, trying to catch all the layers, then I'll swivel it round and go along the same track. When I get to this bottom bit, just to secure it nicely, I'm just going to reverse it. I've now stitched both sides and I'm now able to put the elastic in. The easiest way to do this is to get a small safety pin, attach it to one end of the elastic and thread it through the gap here, the channel for the elastic. I have tried doing it when the elastic's in and sewing down, but actually occasionally you catch the elastic, so this is probably the easiest way to do it. But if you haven't got a safety pin or you're not able to get hold of one, then fold, leave the elastic in, fold it and then sew on top of it. It doesn't make a lot of difference. Then all you need to do is tie a knot in the elastic. I'm not the best at tying knots, but you tie a knot in the elastic, and then, if I can get the elastic out, then what you need to do is just say the mask is now finished. As you can see, it's reversible, and my choice is to have elastic. It just goes nicely behind your ears and fits over your nose. I have made other varieties. This one here is a much more involved pattern. It took me near enough 2 hours to make. You've actually got 3 different layers, and you can put a filter in here. And it really does the job, but actually for just popping to the shops and wearing a mask, this is absolutely fine. I've got one here that is going to go to a friend who likes baking, so I'm trying to make mine theme relevant to whoever I'm giving these masks to. If you didn't have any elastic, you could probably make some bias tape out of t-shirt material, and that would be nice and soft as long as it was a long enough piece. This is how you'd make the bias. You'd cut yourself a 2-inch piece of fabric, you'd fold the ends to the middle and to the middle again and press, and then that would be attached here, but obviously it would have to be long enough to tie around the back of your head, and that's equally as good, but you just need to do 1 line of stitching, so 1 line of stitching to secure that. It's just an alternative if you haven't got any elastic. If you've got thick elastic, you can use scissors and cut it thinner. It tends to fray a little bit, but actually it's not too bad. So I'll leave you with that.